Will Brown, and welcome to the WP Quickies series, bite-sized WordPress tips and tricks in 30 minutes or less. Today, I'm going to be looking at Wordfence and running through the setup for Wordfence. So thanks for suggesting that. I had quite a few people suggest this quickie for today. So thanks for taking your time to join me in this lovely sunny Sydney afternoon, and welcome to those overseas and those watching on replay. Did you stay up late last night and watch the blood moon? I did. I was the idiot standing out for 50 minutes watching the eclipse of the moon. It was rather spectacular, actually. Quite nice. It wasn't deep red, but it was more of a kind of orangey pink colour. But it was good fun anyway. It was definitely something to watch. It's not available in Australia for most times. So yeah, it was great to watch that, but a bit cold last night. Drop me a note in the comments to see where you are coming from, who you are, where you're from. I've got Mr. Meowpuss here. I've got Jean from the Central Coast and Julia as well. Hi Julia, how you doing? Thanks for joining me. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on that little bell for my latest video updates. And if you're on Facebook, then give me a big thumbs up. That would be fantastic. If you're going to ask any questions, drop them in the comments below and use the hashtag ask at the beginning just so I can see them easily when I scroll through. So let's get straight into it today, I think. I'll try and make this as quick as possible. Oh, I seem to be missing a few slides here. I wonder where they went. Let's go and have a quick look, see if there's any slides. There we go. That's the right one. Okay, so what is a WAF? Well, it stands for Web Application Firewall, and it's basically a virus scanner or malware scanner for your website. So it scans files for malware, and it helps to secure your website for online threats like brute force attacks, SQL injection, and other vectors that hackers like to use to gain access. Now, I get asked this question an awful lot. Do I need to install a security plugin, or shall I rely on my web hosting provider only? I would say it is essential to install a WAF. Security, your hosting, it may provide some good security overall, but an extra layer of defense can't be a bad thing. And also, it lets you to tailor specific WordPress security. So, for example, if you're running just a normal web hosting provider that doesn't specialize in WordPress, they might not have the advanced techniques, the advanced screening for particular WordPress vectors. And that's where this web application firewall comes in really, really handy. It allows you to really specify WordPress security threats that your general host might not pick up. So yeah, I would say it's an essential thing. Just even having that feedback of going into the logs to be able to see what's happening. You know, that people are trying all these different usernames and brute force attacks and things like that. Just kind of raises your security and your knowledge about what's happening with your website. So I would say yes, it is essential to have some sort of web application firewall. And today we are looking at Wordfence. So that's enough talking about all the stuff. Let's say price. I did have a pricing. Where did that go? There we go. So before we get into it, let's have a quick look at the pricing as well. So I'm running Wordfence free. I do have a couple of premium on a few client websites. So the basic difference between free and premium are up on the slide just now. So for premium, you get real-time rules and signature updates. So if you're on the free one, then it updates every 30 days. So if, for example, a threat comes out, like a 0-day threat comes out, if you're on the premium, you're going to get that update straight away. Otherwise, you have to wait 30 days, and you know your website could be at risk within that time. But you have to wait 30 days on the free, real-time, or for premium. Included in the premium as well is a real-time IP blacklist checker. So it's going to check your website, make sure that you're on, if you're not on any of these the blacklist checkers, and that blacklist check is directly from Wordfence. They maintain their own blacklist checker. A reputation checker as well. So as well as checking your website with blacklists, it also checks your reputation with all these other different services to make sure you're not your website isn't coming up on any of those. So that's real-time checking for those. I guess one of the biggest things, and these are something that my clients use quite a lot, is the country blocking. So they tend to find that there's quite a few countries that spam the website quite a lot or try to do some brute force, and they can country block those particular ones out. And I've got a few clients as well who only sell to particular areas and they're not really fussed on any other countries, so they block everyone apart from 1 or 2 countries to get access to their content. So as well as country blocking, they've got priority backend server processing. So when these security scanners are doing their scans, they're scanning your website for threats and stuff. It's not all done locally, and they do use services on the back end. So as a premium feature, then you get priority access to those back-end processing. So it's a different servers that they use, so it's quicker, which means there's not as much drag, it's not as much resource hog on your server when it's doing all that scanning. And of course, bundled in the premium, you get access to support from the Defiant staff. So Defiant is that's the company that oversees, it's like the parent company that produces the Wordfence services, but they are spanning out into different things. So they renamed themselves a couple of years ago, I believe, to Defiant for that. And you can see the pricing down there. So this is in US dollars. So per site license, or just for one site, you got $99 US. And then the more sites you get a little bit of discount off. Unfortunately, they don't have like an unlimited version. So, you know, if you are hosting websites for your clients or looking after them, their websites as some sort of support care package, unfortunately don't have unlimited, so you just have to factor that into your pricing. So let's have a quick look at a demo. It's this one. No, it says pricing at the top, but you know, we'll have a look at demo. John has joined us from Caves Beach. Thank you very much, John. Good to have you on board. So let me just swap my screen. There we go, and I'll make that full screen as well if you let it. Hopefully you guys can see all that clearly. It looks good on the screen I'm looking at down here. Okay, so this is a separate site. I've just spun up a new WordPress website. There's nothing in it apart from I've just installed Wordfence. So if you're wondering what I'm using Wordify.com. That's Wordify.com. And they allow you to have unlimited developer websites. So you can spin up dev websites and they're all protected through a password. I think there is some sort of limit. There's like 20 gigabytes of file space, but you know, generally you can spin up as many little websites as you like. And so I like using them for these quickies. So I can just spin up a website and then just destroy it, and, you know, and I don't have to pay any money, which is fantastic. So thank you for those guys at Wordify.com. Okay, so let's have a look here. I have installed Wordfence. I've not activated it, so I installed it through the normal add plugins on the dashboard. Let's just make that a little bit bigger, get rid of myself. So I'm going to activate that, and then we're just going to show you the process to go through when Wordfence has been activated, and then we're going to jump into some of the settings as well and just see what they do. So it is running at the moment. Let's just give it a little bit of time. There we go. So the first thing that you see, it's telling you that you've successfully installed Wordfence, and it's asking you for your email address, where to send all the alerts for your website. So I'll put my webmaster address in. This is the email that's going to be sending all the notifications, like there's a threat or it's found something or you need to do plugin updates or all this sort of stuff. So that's the one there, and there's a little button at the bottom to agree to privacy and policy. You can have a look at the terms and privacy down there, but you've got to check that to go forward. And then one other option is you can choose to or choose not to send anonymous statistics back to Wordfence for their processing. So I'm going to say no here and then continue for those. So you can do that if you like, and what it does is it just collates all these anonymous stats, sends it back in order for Wordfence to try and improve the security. Now the next one here is it's asking you for the premium license key. So I'm not going to do premium today, so I'm just going to say no thanks. And then it takes you back into the plugins thing. So that's it. Wordfence has been activated. We can see it down here as one of the menu options. And let's go to, well, first let's have a look at the normal dashboard. So I'll just get rid of these. Okay, get rid of that one there, dismiss. Just so you can see them. So it does add a couple of widgets, maybe one widget, yeah, just one. So you got your Wordfence activity in the past week, which tells you the IPs that are blocked, the countries that are blocked, the failed logins, and any plugins or theme updates that you need. So I use that quite a lot for my client site, so I can move it up to the top so I can see those. Another thing you'll find a little snag here, and these are all in options, so you don't have to do these, you can go straight to the options, but another little snag that says, do you want to automatically update the Wordfence plugin? So I will say yes to that, because I want to make sure it's updated. Security is very, very important. And then at the very top, we've got this, to make your site secure as possible, take a moment to optimize the Wordfence web application firewall. So click here to configure. So I'm going to do that. Again, you can do that in the settings, but let's do that right here because it's right there at the moment. Okay, so what this does is, this Wordfence tries to detect what type of, well, it does detect what type of web server that you're using, and basically it applies whatever updates that it needs to run quickly. So because when you're running WordPress, WordPress is an event-driven application, so it does something, then something else, then something else. It means that if somebody had installed maybe some dodgy plugin, they could set the priority way above Wordfence when Wordfence kicks in and get in there first. So what this does is it allows Wordfence to run first before WordPress starts to execute its code. So what it's asking me here to do is it's detected I've got Apache and CGI fast CGI. And it's going to tell me to download my htaccess file, which I'll just cancel that. You can save it. And then once you've downloaded it for a backup, then you can continue. And what does it? It adds stuff to that htaccess file so that Wordfence can get access straight away before WordPress starts to do its stuff. So that's that done. And let's dismiss this one here. Okay, so that's it installed. We can go down to the Wordfence dashboard now. You'll get all these little tooltips that will come up if you've not used it before. So at the very top, we've got the firewall. It's not got any little bar on it. I don't know why it's not got a bar. It's usually got a little circle. It's saying we're 48% effective and the scan is 60% effective. Now, you can pretty much ignore these things. I think this is mostly just some information to upgrade to premium. So if we hover over here, you can see that down below, how do I get 100%? Well, you can install the premium license and you get premium rules, you get real-time updates, and you get to optimize the Wordfence firewall. And those optimizations include premium features. So you can pretty much ignore that. I think that's more of a sales pitch. And similarly with the scan, to get the more complete 100%, you've got to enable premium scan features and premium reputation. So this up here, I think it's just really more of a sales pitch. Underneath, you're going to get some notification. There's none just now. We've just installed it. And then links to tools, your help, and your global options, which we're going to go through in a minute. There's a little summary of the firewall down here. And then there's total attacks blocked as well as a chart in here. So let's go through some of the different options. And let's go into the options at the moment. Can you hear me? I think my mic just dropped out. Give me a second. And I'll try and fix the mic. Let's see, is it working? No, it's not. Yay, we're back, we're back. Sorry about that. Okay, let's keep on. I shall not push that speaker back anymore. Push my speaker back and it must have knocked one of the USB cables from our little USB hub and everything went off. So sorry about that. Let's keep going. So let's go down to the options. So on Wordfence, you've got all options down the bottom here. There's quite a lot of them down here. So your Wordfence license down there, that's where you enter your premium one. And then you can view some of your customizations down here. So let's have a quick look here. So this allows you to add more things onto the dashboard. So at the moment, it's got all options. So you can add the blocking, and it'll appear down here, and you can add the live traffic view and then save those changes, and then you can see there's more options down here at the bottom, so blocking and live traffic, and we'll have a look at those throughout. But general Wordfence options up here. So we've already done this update WordPress automatically. I know it might be quite small for you guys to see on there, but you've got the update Wordfence automatically. Then you've got your email alerts here for the email address. And then you've got options here to say, how does Wordfence get IPs? Now, there's quite a lot of options here. You probably won't understand them all. But the first one is, let Wordfence determine how to get the IPs. And that's probably the one that you've recommended. So keep that one checked unless you're using Cloudflare. If you're using Cloudflare, you can check the last one here, because Cloudflare does something a little bit different when it's detecting IP addresses that are coming into your website. So if you're running your website through Cloudflare, make sure you check this bottom one down here. And then it's told me it's detected my IP address. Don't worry, that's not my real IP address. I'm running this through a VPN at the moment. So it's just telling you where your details are. You've got an option to hide WordPress version, but that doesn't really work anymore. There's other ways to detect if your website is running WordPress other than the version it puts out to the browser, so you don't have to check that. Disable code execution for uploads directory. I'm not too bothered with that because I'm the only one that signs into my WordPress account. But what this can do is it puts a little bit of code in your htaccess, and it stops people if they're uploading .php files and executable files up into your uploads. It stops them from running it within your uploads folder. So if you're a little bit paranoid, you can check on that one. And at any time, if you're not too sure what the settings do, there's a little question mark at the end, and you click on that and it goes to the help page on the Wordfence website, so you can see exactly what these options do. I'm not going to run through every single one. Some of them are pretty self-explanatory. This one here, bypass the Lightspeed no abort check. So if you know that you're running Lightspeed a web server, sometimes the Lightspeed can put an abort on the length of a script that it runs. So you can click on that to tell Lightspeed not to abort your long scripts. So that's the scanning script. And then you've got an option to delete all your data when you uninstall the plugin. So that's the general options. Then you've got options for your dashboard. So you can see what stuff is being put out to the dashboard. You've got scan status and your updates needed for your plugins, your theme, and core. So I find that little dashboard widget quite useful when I'm logging into my client website. So I keep those up there. And email preferences as well. So there's a whole heap of alerts, all the way from if Wordfence is activated, deactivated, if people are logged in, and when an IP address is blocked and things like that. So I go down through these. I'm not so bothered with I am bothered if Wordfence is deactivated, if the application firewall is turned off. Yep, so I want to know those. What I don't want to see is when an IP address is blocked. So I don't want 1,000 emails to come through when somebody starts spamming the website. So I'm going to turn that one off. Alert when someone is locked from login. Nope, I'm not bothered about that. Alert when someone is blocked from logging in. Nope, I'm not bothered about that one. Alert when the lost password is used. Nope, not bothered. And alert me when someone signs in as administrator access. Yes, I keep that one checked. And I keep that one down there. So alert me when there's a large increase in attacks on my website. So I want to keep those ones down there. So for activity report, you can choose to get an email summary. So like once a week or once a month, probably once a month would do. So if you are monitoring client websites, if you've got like a support package, that is quite handy. It comes through every month and just tells you, what's happened on a monthly basis from security points of views. And there's the report widget on the dashboard as well. So, so that's the global options and the WAF options. So let's just minimize those at the moment. The next one is firewall options. So these go to the actual firewall. So that's when it's running the scans. That's when it's looking to secure your website. There's there's 2 levels here. So you've got your status here, so automatically on, and it's currently in learning mode. So it goes into learning mode for a few days, which learns what you do on the website, the activity on the website, who's coming in, what you're posting, and that sort of stuff. Then once it's finished learning mode, it will go to protecting mode. So it's still protecting you while learning. It's just learning how you use the website so that it doesn't block things basically. And then you've got extended protection as well. I would keep that on. And then you've got some premium features up here for real-time IP blocking up there. Okay, so let's have a look at the advanced firewall options. So here you can go in and you can blacklist IP addresses in here. And you can do country blocking as well, but we don't have that premium one here. So basically just IP addresses, IP ranges in here. There's a little bit of a help text down below. So if you're finding particular IP addresses are spamming, if they're trying to do bad things, you can block them directly from here. And similarly, you can whitelist services here. So it's a blacklist IP addresses and whitelist them here. And you can also ignore IP addresses completely from the alert. So if you've got a service that is checking in on your WordPress website every so often, and you want to make sure that Wordfence doesn't interfere with that, then you can put the IP address in there as well, and that will whitelist it, will basically ignore it. Let's go back. Now you've got some rules here, and these are similar to if you've got a virus scanner installed in your PC, and all the different rules or signatures that they have in here. And that's what these are here. And you can tailor it to, you can turn them on or off if there's a particular issue that Wordfence is having with something on your website. But in general, I'll leave them all on. You can show all the rules. I'm not going to do that because it expands down by about 5 billion pages, and I'll be scrolling until the quickies next week. So you can go through them, have a look. Sometimes if you've got services that integrate with your WordPress website, sometimes you can get like a false positive for Wordfence. It thinks it's an attack, but it's not. So you can go down and see if there's a rule for that and uncheck that. But I would, in general, for most people, just leave all these rules on. Now, manually refresh rules. So we saw from the premium license that you get real-time updates with premium, but for the free version, it's every 30 days, or you can do a manual refresh. So you can come in here every day, every week, and click on a refresh to download all those new security rules if that's what you want to do. Okay, brute force protection. So brute force is when someone's trying to bot attack your website, trying to guess your password lots and lots of times, thousands of times per second. So here's the controls for that. So you can lock people out or lock IP addresses out after 20 failures or 20 password attempts. And then there's a period of time that you can actually block them out for. So it's 4 users. Or if you've got like a lot of people on your website and they're maybe not secure with typing passwords, you can maybe just put that down to 10 minutes, if that's an issue for you. But that's how you control the brute force, the amount that's coming in, and the threshold, and the amount of time that they're kind of locked out for there. Now you can also immediately block out invalid usernames. So if someone is trying to guess usernames and they're not in the WordPress system, then you can block them out immediately. That's kind of useful, I guess. Otherwise, if you've got like a large user base, I would not check this on. So I've got a couple of clients who have a LearnDash website, and they've got tens of thousands of users on there, and you don't really want to be checking those every single time someone is trying to log in, because that's going to take a lot of server resources for that. Okay, so that's probably enough for that one. Prevent use of passwords and leaked data breaches. So that's a service that Wordfence uses. So they'll check your email address to see, and your password to see if that's been leaked on any of these services, and if it has, it will bring up an alert if you're trying to use that password. So that's only set for admins, or you can use it with all users that's got a publish capability. So that's quite useful. I'll leave that one on. And then additional options here. We might run over the 30 minutes here, but I'll just keep going. So enforce strong passwords. That is an absolute necessity. So you don't want people who are registering on your website to use weak passwords, because that would be a way for the hackers to be able to guess and get them in. This one here, don't let WordPress reveal valid login errors. So when you type in your username and a wrong password, it kind of shakes the screen and it says, oh, you've got a wrong password, which means you've got the right username. So get rid of that information. Prevent users from registering the user or admin. So obviously you don't want that, because the username admin is one of the biggest attempts. You'll see when you go through the logs with Wordfence after you've had it installed for a while, the admin comes up pretty much all the time, tries to guess that username and then the password. Then there's other checks for here to this basically kind of ways that people can kind of guess what the usernames are, so they can attack them. So you can do those for there. And then check password strength on profile updates as well. So it's not just when people register on the website, it's also when people update their profile. You want to make sure that you check they don't put in an insecure password if they're updating that that profile there. Okay, and then participate in the real-time network. So you don't have to send anonymous stats back. You can just uncheck that, and then your Wordfence system won't send any information back to Defiance. Rate limiting, I would probably just leave that as it is. So that's basically, for things that are coming in to look at your website, and there's valid things. So, for example, the Google crawlers and all the search engine crawlers, the ones that come in and have a look at all your page stuff. You don't want to block them, but there's other stuff you might want to block. So have a look through that. I would probably just leave that as it is, because it's got pretty good settings for those, unless you have a particular problem. And then some URLs here. So you can create your own rules based on URLs and parameters that you can enable or disable or block for those. So you might build them up if you've got particular URLs that you don't want people to get access to. Maybe you've got like a membership website and you've got some private stuff on there, then you can put a rule in that nobody can get access to that. So yeah, you can have a look at those and customize that for your own website. Okay, then we've got into blocking options. Now this is disabled because I've not got the premium, but this is where you'd go into to do country blocking level and just click on the countries that you don't want, or select them all and then unselect the ones you do want from. So that's a really good feature. I really do like that, and it works really, really well. Defiance or Wordfence, they keep a really good list of IP addresses for countries, so that works really well on my client websites, and they love that particular feature. So moving down to some scan options here. So this is when the Wordfence is running the scanner, and it's looking at vulnerabilities and file scans for your WordPress website. So here we can see schedule Wordpress scans, and it's enabled, of course. So by free version just lets Wordfence choose whenever it runs the scans, and it'll do that at kind of the lowest activity, and it does learn the best time to do that. Or if you've got the premium license, you can choose your particular time that you want that to run every day. Then we've got the scan options. So this is where you've got 4 different levels. At the moment, it's at the standard scan because it's just learning. But if you find that Wordfence is scanning and it's taking up too much server resources or too much time, then you can do a limited scan to try and reduce the server resources. Or if you think you've been compromised, then you can click on high sensitivity, and that's going to do a more thorough scan of the system and maybe kind of sniff out some issues that you might suspect are lurking there in the file system. Otherwise, if you go down into general options, if you start clicking around, then that's going to be your custom scan there. So in the general options, you can basically tell the scanner what you want to do or not do. So there's all the ones that are checked by default. Some, I'm not going to go through them all, but for things like here is scan core files against the repository versions for changes. I find that very useful, and this one down here I usually check, which is scan plugin files against repository. So what that does is it looks at your core files, and it looks at your plugin files, and it checks with WordPress.org to make sure that all the files have the same signature. And what that really enables you it to detect is if someone has maybe broken into your website or you've downloaded a plugin from somewhere else and maybe changed a couple of files to try and sneak some malware or some scripts in there, then that's going to highlight it because it'll be different from the one that's in the WordPress.org repository. So I do like that. I don't check the theme one because I always have custom themes that I build for myself and my clients, so I can uncheck that off. And all these options here, they're all going to take up more resources on your web server. So you can just see which ones you need. Okay, so I kind of leave them all on. So things like check password strength, scan this, scan that. But down outside the bottom one, and this is one that I check on. So scan files outside your WordPress installation. I always check that one on, because you don't want, if someone is uploading malicious files, they could quite easily upload it outside the WordPress installation, and then you've got some malware on your server. So I check that one, and that's a quite good one to have. The one underneath, so it's scan images, binary, and other files as if they were executables. Sometimes people can sneak PHP scripts or other scripts in as like images, and then kind of sneakily run them as scripts. And so if you think there's malware on your website, if you've got a suspicion, if you suspect you may be under attack, then you can check on that one, and that's going to do a more thorough, and it is a very, very thorough check. So that is going to definitely use a lot more server resources, but it's really useful if you do have some suspicions, going into that. Otherwise, I just leave that unchecked. Performance options. I'm not going to go into this too much. Basically, if you find the scan's going to taking too much, you can kind of tweak it, how much memory and the time it takes for those. Advanced scan options. You can exclude files from the scan, so you can use like wildcard stuff. So if there's a particular directory that has got like stuff in there like PDFs that you don't want scanned, you can check on that, and additional stuff that you want to check in your website. So if there's a particular thing that you're looking for that you maybe had a tag in the past, and there's been a particular string of letters that has appeared, you can type it in there, and Wordfence will check the content, the files, and the database for that particular what they call the signature. And then down the bottom, you've just got some tools for those for import and export. And that just takes you to different areas in the Wordfence options here. So that's it. That's all the settings for those, and those are my kind of ones I would pay attention to. So you'd save all those and make sure you've got those updated. Other than that, you've got some of your options down here in your Wordfence. So if you click on Firewall, little note because I'm new. Again, you've got your percentage scores here. I would ignore those. Those are all kind of more salesy stuff to try and get you to upgrade to premium. And then you've got links to your rates, your blocking. So these are all links to the options that we've looked at before, and then all the options down here. Then we've got IPs blocked, your firewall summary, the top countries that are coming in to attack you, and the total attacks blocked as well, and your login attempts as well. That's people trying to guess your login. So it's not all filled there because this is a brand new installation, so there's no data there for it to show. Blocking. So this takes you to your block and filter. I'll just get rid of that one here. And this is exactly, these are the rules that you can add. So you can add some more filters. So you can block people by IP address, by country, or by a custom pattern as well. So if you're having a particular problem with an IP address, you can add it here to block it, or for the country if you've got premium access as well, or if you've got something custom that you want to make sure it doesn't get through to your website, you can do that in the blocking area, and that's the same as here. So if we switched on those options in the settings for the dashboards, that's blocking and scan. That just go blocking and live traffic. Sorry, that just goes to the same options there. If I have a quick look at scan. Again, we'll get rid of this little one here. The scan here, again, you can ignore these rates. They're just more kind of a sales pitch. And then the actual scanner itself, we've got your server status, the file changes, malware scan, content safety, public files, password strength, and it just gives you a tick on each of those as the scan goes underway. Now, I've not scanned this. I'll just start a new scan just now, and that'll just run in the background. And then once you come back here, it's going to tell you, which ones it's checked, if there's a tick or if there's a cross. Any issues, it's going to be highlighted here, results found, and then you can go in and you can see what the result is, and then you can apply a fix or decide to ignore it as well. Oh, scan failed, my goodness. Probably because I'm running, I've got the thing blocked with a password protection, so they can't send in any information for that. So that's the firewall, so the scan bit there. Then you've got tools here. Tools allow you to see who's live visiting your website. Then you've got a whois lookup if you look for an IP address or domain. Then you've got, this is probably the best little option here. So once you set up your Wordfence website the way you like it, if you've got lots of client websites, you can then export all these options. And then next time you go and install it, you don't go through all the options, you just go and import the options there, and it sets up the same way as you've set up the site. So it basically clones all the options, and that's an absolute lifesaver. That's I use that all the time when I'm setting up new client websites. You've got your live traffic report here, which is the same as that tab. Then you've got a little bit for login security, and this is the last one I'm going to talk about just now. So I'm going to try and end it as quickly as I can. So this one here is where you set up your two-factor authentication. Now, I used to use the Google 2FA plugin, but that's not been supported for quite a while now. So I've moved totally over to Wordfence. So what you do is you install your Google 2FA authenticator on your little mobile phone. And to set up, you just go into the application, you kind of hold it up to this QR code, and then you type in the code that comes in, and then and that's you set up. So next time you log in, then it's going to ask you for this 2FA underneath the username and password. And there's several options that you can configure here. You can set it for administrators, or you can set it for all users that have publishing rights on there. And there's various other options as well regarding that, the kind of the 2FA authentication. But I would highly recommend that you set this up for yourself and for your clients as well. So when you log in, they're typing that extra code. It just gives you that extra bit of security that even if someone manages to guess your username and password, that they don't have access to the 2FA code because it's on the mobile phone that you carry around with you. So that's it. Just move back to the presentation. There we go. That's all, and it's quite a long one. I knew it was going to be long. Sorry about that today, because I want to go through all the options and make sure you guys had a really thorough understanding of what you can set, what can't you set, and what all the different options are in Wordfence. I love Wordfence. I've used the other plugins before. I've used Security. I've used iPhone Security plugin as well, but I always come back around to Wordfence because I know the options well. I know what I can do and what I can't do. I've contributed as well to the core plugin base as well, so I know the code is nice and safe and secure. Nick has a question. He says, using Wordfence, is it possible to say block European countries to avoid GDPR issues? It is. Now, there's not a European issue, but you can certainly go and click all those countries for those, and that will block them from getting access to your website. So that could be a good issue if you've got like something to do with GDPR for those. So yes, you definitely can. But of course, that is a premium feature of that, Nick. Okay, guys, I know I've taken up a lot more time than the 30 minutes. So if there's no more questions, I can't see any more coming in. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hopefully you got a good understanding of what Wordfence is, what it can do, what its strengths are, and what the options are. One last question here. Julia asks, what do you mean by it will use more server resources? Okay, great question, Julia. So that was on that particular option that says treat files as possible execution. So when Wordfence is going through your normal files, it looks at an image, it goes, oh, that's an image, fine, it's an image, it's not going to contain any code. So it just skips through all those ones, yeah? When you check that, check everything as binary files or executable files, then it will, rather than just look at the JPEG as a file name .jpg, then it actually loads that file in. It starts to scan through all the code in the file to see if there's any scripts in there. So obviously, if you're scanning through all your files on the website, it's going to take a lot more than it would do if it just says, oh, that's an image file, it should be all right, and it skips it. Okay, so you're actually doing a deep scan of those files. And that's going to be PHP that's doing it. It's going to be your server, which means more resources. It means that your web server is doing a lot more because it's loading the file into memory, so it's taking more memory. It's running through the lines of the file, all the bytes of the code of the images, and all the other files, which means it's more resource intensive. It's going to take longer. So PHP is running for longer, which means the website is doing more work. So that's basically what we mean by more resources, more server resources, more memory, more PHP execution, more CPU, and things like that. So, and it will take longer as well if you've got that option checked. That was a great question, Julia. Thank you. Okay, this is the last one from FreeTrum. Can Wordfence avoid DDoS attack? No, it cannot. And that's a really super good question. No, DDoS or denial of service, distributed denial of service attacks, that's something very, very different. So that's when you've got all these bots coming into your website and your website struggles to try and handle all these requests and it falls on the floor. So Wordfence can't do that. It can't do anything about the IP address that are coming in, and it's only the one physical server. So Wordfence can't do anything. However, if you use a CDN like Cloudflare, then Cloudflare can actively mitigate a DDoS attack because you've got copies or fragments of your website in all their different CDN servers all the way throughout the globe. If you've got a DDoS attack coming in, then services like Cloudflare can block off one route, and people can still get at your website because it's got copies all the way over in its network. So if you're looking specifically for DDoS attack, then a CDN service like Cloudflare would be something that would help you for that. So thank you so much, guys. That's been really good. Thanks for the questions as well. It means that I haven't bored you and you're not sleeping. So next week, join me. I'm going to be talking about how you can get around being locked out of WordPress. So if you have typed in a username and it locks you out, what can you do to get yourself back in? Or probably more likely at real world scenarios, how can you get your client getting back into their WordPress website when they've locked themselves out? So I'm going to chat about that next week. Fill out the link below for some more topics for me to cover, and I'll go through these. This is WP Australia for all the meetups and Slack access, and there's Slack as well. Join us on that. A little quick shout out for my website owner survival guide. You can have a look at the link down below in the comments, and you can connect with me as well. I'm on LinkedIn mostly under Developer Will. On Instagram as well on willbrown_au, and I do my rants and stuff on Twitter under Developer Will as well. So I'm happy to connect with you guys, and thank you so much for being with me for today. It was a long one today, and hopefully you got a lot out of that for Wordfence. Go and install Wordfence, have a look through the options, and secure your website. Okay, guys, I shall see you next week. Ciao.